guys, it's Megan. I'm back again today to talk about Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare. If you have not watched my Clockwork Angel video, I will link that in the description, and you can watch that first if you haven't already. First, I will give a review of the book itself, just like an overview with no spoilers, and after that, I will give a full-blown book discussion with tons and tons of spoilers. So just as a general overview, I rated this 5 stars, of course, because it's Cassandra Clare, and she's awesome. She's my favorite author. There are very few who can compete with her. And I would just like to comment, I don't think she did this in the Mortal Instruments series, but I love how at the beginning of the chapters, she puts like famous quotes from pieces of literature that correlate with each of the chapters, and I really love that. I normally don't like when the main character goes back and forth between 2 other characters, in this case Tessa and Jim and Will. And the first book, I wasn't really huge on Clockwork Angel as far as the romance aspect was concerned, because they didn't really do much. It was more of an action instead of a romance. As far as romance in this book, it's great. It's great. Even though she goes back and forth between the 2, and I really have a tough choice or a tough decision to make about whether I'm like Team Jim or Team Will, it's very well executed. This is the spoiler part, just saying. So you might want to get out if you haven't yet, because I'm about to ruin it for you. After we find out Will's secret that he couldn't love because he thought that everybody was gonna die if they loved him, because like the first book I was like, wow, this guy is a douchebag. He is a total douchebag. So I didn't like Will in the first book, but now that I know that it was because he thought that Tessa would die if she loved him, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so sweet, and I love Will. And now Jim is just kind of like in the way, because I really want Tessa to get with Will now. But then again, I feel bad because I feel like I should be on Team Jim because he's like dying. I just don't know. I'm having a hard time. And now she's like gonna marry Jim. Like they're gonna get married. And that was the point where I started not liking Jim as much, because I mean, I get where he's coming from, but that was all of a sudden. Like, they make out one time, so, you know, let's get married. I think in the next book, I'm just gonna kind of guess what's gonna happen. We know that she still likes Will, because every time she looks at him, she gets butterflies, even though she's supposed to love Jim. So I think that Jim is gonna die. That way, even though this sounds terrible, we can get him out of the way so she can marry Will. And I think that he's gonna die, like, in battle. And if not, he's gonna die eventually anyway, like, probably soon, because he's sick. I just kind of feel like Will's on the back burner, kind of waiting for Jim to die so he can be with Tessa. I mean, that's kind of how I feel, even though that's bad. But I think that's how it's gonna play out. This is just like a crackpot theory. I'm not totally sure what's gonna happen, because I haven't even read reviews or anything on Clockwork Princess, other than I've heard people say it's great. But I think that Jim is gonna die, and Will is gonna be with Tessa. I hope so. I hope so. As for the other stuff that happened, Benedict Lightwood and his sons Gabriel and Gideon. At first, I was like, wow, Benedict is one of those old rich guys who are douchebags to everybody, and he doesn't like women, so he's gonna kick Charlotte out of the Institute, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like all of a sudden, oh, he's working for Mortmain. And I was like, why would he do that? Because he doesn't strike me as evil, necessarily. His son, Gabriel, did. So I thought the whole time maybe he was helping Mortmain, but he really didn't know much about it. And Gideon. I like Gideon. I hope he and Sophie have a future together, because I really like Sophie. And I feel bad for her, because Tessa is going to marry the guy that she used to like. And that was really all that happened in this book. I mean, honestly, that's all that stood out to me. I mean, I know there were battles and Nate died, but who cares, really? I never really liked him, and I figured it was coming. I mean, it's been a long time coming. Well, I knew he was gonna die. So, I did kind of feel bad for Tessa, but Tessa didn't really care, so I was like, I guess I shouldn't feel bad for her. And then at the end, Will's little sister walks in after Jim and Tessa announced that they're getting married, and now Henry and Charlotte are having a baby, And I'm like, yay, this is awesome. And I'm like, this is the end of the book. This is going to be a perfect ending. This is perfect. And then, what's her name? Walks in. Cicely walks in, and she's like, I have come to be trained as a shadow hunter. And Will's just like, crap, now I've got to make up to my family after abandoning them. And that's what he's thinking, I'm sure. So now I think in Clockwork Princess, he's going to have a long road of making up to do. And he's a totally new person now. So he's totally lovable, and he's not a douchebag. And maybe he and Tessa will end up together, and Jem will die, like in the first chapter of Clockwork Princess, but we can only hope for so much. And I will be back shortly with my review on Clockwork Princess, because I really want to start it tonight. I literally read this. I finished reading it like 2 minutes ago. Seriously, like 2 minutes before I made this video. And I think that's Will on the front. I've been trying to figure that out the whole time I've been reading this. I think it's Will, because Jem has like silver hair. But then again, I don't know. So now that this is over with, I'm gonna go read Clockwork Princess. Bye.
Some of mine, yeah, some of mine, yeah, some of mine. I'm still like, can you hit it with your OVO goose on? I'm like, what are you on?
Oh.
Told me that she